welcome you today. And we're going to bring you now to the most, Disneyland, they say, is the happiest place on earth. But we're going to bring you now to really the most wonderful place on earth. Because prayer is intimacy with God. And that's what we love about our prophet, is that Kim is intimate with the Lord, as we all are. But as our leader, how many of us are thankful that we have leadership that spends time with God? So, Kim, we love you, we appreciate you, and we warriors, we just want to get into that garden with you right now and hear these beautiful secret things that the Lord is speaking to you. Let's welcome Prophet Kim right now.
Thank you so much. I was caught up in the worship to the degree that I went from outside into the inside part of my studio and sat at the piano and actually worshipped with the team. Very good. I'm so proud of you. I am, because the same presence of God is there. It's not as if anything's missing just because I'm gone. And it is beautiful to worship and do it the way everybody else does it. It's beautiful. And then also the fact that you zoned in on ISIS and the suffering of the parents as they saw their own families hurt, and we don't even understand that kind of pain. But truly, I believe that when you sing like that and worship Him, that the presence of God goes into those regions on their behalf. So I just welcome you again. It's just amazing to be able to stand in His presence and hear things. I heard, while I was praying earlier before we worshiped, I heard the word seal, and it just came to me. I wasn't thinking about it. I hadn't read about it. And that God has placed a seal on His people in this generation. Death has no sting or victory. So death in the kingdom of God is not something that we distracts us. It is not something that discourages us. Even though it is discouraging, we know that there's more to life than this. And so I know a lot of people, when they look at all that's happening with the mass murders that are taking place, unnecessary murders, we get afraid. And there's a lot of fear in this country, and I have to address that because there are fear mongers. There are people that are out there that make a lot of money on fear. And so I don't want to speak about them, but I want to tell you, you have come to the most wonderful place on earth. And like Mike said, a little sheepishly, but he did say it. And it's the truth, though. It is, because here is the presence of God. Here is the truth. Here we have the mysteries of God unfolding. So let me continue on and tell you that I feel that with what happened to me this morning, whatever happens in the garden has to be displayed, expressed, manifest to every person that is watching me, because I'm responsible for this flock, whom I'm so proud of, this tribe of people that follow us and follow the Lord through us. I've taught you how to fix up your soul. I've taught you how to reject anything that is not of the Spirit of God. I've taught you to pray. I've taught you the importance of watching and praying. And what we've learned together is that once we hear what the Spirit is saying to the church now, not historically what He said, but what He's saying now, we usually take that and apply that in our lives to our perception. When God tells us what He's doing, what He intends doing, we apply that to our prayer life, and it becomes prophetic prayer. Our perception becomes prophetic perception. When we hear what God is saying now and what His plans are, we can enter into spiritual warfare, and we sow into it as well. This is what we've learned to do. That's why we've been able to help Israel and help so many people all over the world, is because you understand God has just said something. I'm going to apply it in my life, express it, manifest it, And I'm not going to put up and tolerate fear, because fear is the opposite of faith. So when I was in prayer, I was caught up, and this happens a few times with me, and I began to hear things and see things. And this Saturday at the Den, it's going to be another amazing, we've just had weeks and weeks of amazing manifestations of God. And I saw something in the garden that we had to do this Saturday, and I'm preparing for it. Something that was written on a scroll. And you know, it's been happening to me a lot lately. To the point I've said to the Lord, I don't know how much more I can take of this. It's so amazing. It's just wondrous. I have no words to say, you know, what it is that when I get caught up and the Spirit fills me and I see these things, it's just, I don't want to leave the garden. I don't want to leave that place. And yet I know I have to share it with everybody else. So that which was written on the scroll that I saw, I'm going to reveal this Saturday, because there's a timing to reveal everything. Today, our code breakers are going to, because of code breakers, I should say, you're going to see how God is going to deal with our enemies. Now, we all have enemies, and by the end of this little talk, every one of you are going to be so alert. Every one of you are going to be have so much understanding that all the fear that has come into you is going to disappear unless you're holding on to it. While I was praying, I saw 11 terror groups. This is something you must please take note of. I saw 11 terror groups that were going to emerge, I should say, out of this present group. Now, ISIS, as you know, is more than just a group, or IS or ISIL, whatever you want to call it. God's already shared with us the mystery of Nimrod, ISIS, and countries like Russia, Syria, Iran, and Turkey, and what is going to happen with them and what's going to happen with his people. So stick with me, and then go to Codebreakers, and you're going to be well informed today. But I saw 11 terror groups. Now, you may say, well, Kim, there are hundreds of them out there. No. I saw 11 terrorist groups, emerging from this present group, this present display of vulgarity and terror and cannibalism and martyrdom that's taking place, is coming before God. And the cry of these people, even today you heard it from Hannah and Miranda, as they were singing and they were worshiping with the team, that it's coming before God, and there is vengeance. And the way God does it, He doesn't just send earthquakes and swallow people up in the ground, even though those things do happen, those signs do happen. God is going to be very crafty with this next movement. So we see how this one group, ISIS, and there's another group, and of course we know Al-Qaeda is there, but there are 11 terror groups emerging at this very time. And they're coming forth because they see the success, if you want, at this time, of ISIS. So they feel like, well, we're going to get money, we're going to be supported, we're going to have possibly global, fairly large percentage of global support. There's enough hatred for Israel, and now even hatred for the Christians. So, but I saw these groups emerging, and then something happened that I could see how crafty, if I could use that word as God just for now, how God was. One of those, in the midst of these groups, one of those is a betrayer. Now, you've heard me speak on Saturday. I prophesied about a betrayer and betrayal. And I spoke about the betrayal within the United States, and then also betrayal in this terrorist organization and some of these groups. This betrayal will reveal very important information that will weaken these groups irreparably. There will be no repair for them. In other words, they'll be existing, but they will have absolutely no power. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be terrorist organizations operating, that there won't be attacks. I'm saying there's going to be a betrayal. And when this betrayal happens, these groups are going to be weakened. Now, it's important that the number 11, you could take the number 11 because, and I didn't even think of this when I saw it, they were emerging from everywhere, and one very huge one in the United Kingdom and the United States of America. Now, it's a little odd because they're not able to exist, but they are. They don't have to get in through the borders. They are already here. I'm not talking about ISIS. I'm talking about another group of people that are putting on a front that looks good, but they They are there to attack, and they're not going to succeed with another 9/11 attack, because God already told us this is not going to happen. So put your mind at ease. It's not going to happen on the level that 9/11 took place. However, it's important for us to realize that this group, not ISIS, but another group of a terrorist organization, is already in the United States of America. They are planning. They've got stuff together already. It starts with an R, as in rat, and I know that this will be exposed because of not only the intelligence of the United States, but because of the prayers of the saints and the prayers of the prophets of the Most High God and the warriors of God. Is there anybody out there still? Okay, I heard the come on, so I'm okay. So, one is a betrayer. There's a betrayal that will take place, but each of these tribes, I'm going to call them tribes, of Antichrist will be dealt the same severe blow that was inflicted on Saul of Tarsus. Now listen to this. Each of these tribes will be very powerful. They will be, if it makes you more comfortable, radical Islam, although I just call it Islam. But these tribes will be dealt the same severe blow that was inflicted on Saul of Tarsus, which is an invasion of Christ into many of their hearts, a Damascus Road light. This is what I saw. In other words, God is going to work from within and top. That's what Jesus did himself. He worked from within. Now, they don't work like that. Their God works from outside in. So they works, I'm talking about Islam, all their works, everything is supposed to make them good or whatever. But with Christianity, it works from the inside out. Christ comes within and then works on the out. Well, he's going to do the same thing with many of these tribes of Antichrist, and there's going to be these conversions are going to take place, and killings, because when they find out they're Christians, they're going to kill them. But what's going to happen is God's going to invade it, bring light, and expose what they're doing. The prophetic anointing is about to multiply, and young children in the Middle East, young children in some of these organizations will have a prophetic mantle cast on them. Now listen to this. Prophets, child prophets, will come out of these organizations and these groups, and as a result of them, all of this may sound ludicrous. People may say, well, Kim, it's the end time. You don't have any clue what you're talking about. Well, let me just say something to you about that while you're talking about the end time. And while my wife is studying the thing, as best she can, I looked at Daniel chapter 2 today, and I want you to read along with me and show you something about this day that Daniel saw. When he spoke to the king and told him what his dream was and the great image, he got to a certain point, and this is what he said in Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. And in the days of these kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. That's this kingdom. And we don't have to wait for 2,000 years before the king comes for the kingdom to appear, because the kingdom is already here. Because Jesus, when he was with his disciples, remember when he was telling them, I'm not going to drink the wine or eat the bread until the kingdom comes. Well, after his resurrection, what did he do with them? He had bread and he had wine. So the kingdom had already broken into the earth. So it started then. He says, in the days of these kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. Islam will have no hand in this kingdom. And it says, this kingdom shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms in the Babylonian, Persia, and it shall stand forever. There is your sign, people. Right from the scriptures, when Daniel saw it, I stand today as Daniel stood and realized that Jeremiah's prophecy in Jeremiah 29 was coming to pass, and he prayed, and that's why they were released from their bondage and were able to go back to Jerusalem. I recognize that this day that we're in is in Daniel 22 verse 45, that this kingdom will never be destroyed, for we know that. It'll not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Well, you might be saying, Kim, that's when Jesus comes. No, listen to this. He says, inasmuch as the king saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, it broke in pieces the iron, bronze, clay, silver, and gold. Now, my point to you is this. The stone was taken out. Remember when Simon Peter said to Jesus, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And he called in Peter Petros, which means stone. He's not a mountain, he's a stone. This stone that he's talking about is you and I. We are the instruments in which God will use. Of course, we're not going to go to war. But there's a spiritual warfare that's being conducted this very minute that is affecting ISIS, affecting them. They have a crisis, and that's us. Now, there are many being martyred at this moment, and of course, we feel very strongly about this. But let me say this to you. For those that are scared that the church is going to be destroyed, the church is going to go into hiding, the church is going to go into darkness, I don't care how many movies are out there telling you we're going to be left behind. Let me tell you this. There is no way that God's kingdom that is presently in existence on the earth can be overcome. So, in fact, Daniel says, it shall be breaking in pieces and consuming other kingdoms. So, for us to hide away and run away and have an escapism mentality is wicked. And I hope that every one of you listening to me hear what I'm saying today, because I may not be a great eschatologist, but I'll tell you this much. I have the spirit of Issachar upon me, and I know the times and the seasons that we're in. Yes, it's the end time. Yes, there are great persecution. Yes, Antichrist are present. But the kingdom is also present. Now, you're hearing me, but you're not seeing me, which is probably a good thing the way I look right now. Because when I'm in my garden, I don't shave, I don't do any, I look like sackcloth and ashes. But yeah, I want to say a few more things, and then I'm going to share with you one more thing the Lord spoke about. And I'm going to share a lot of this on Saturday at our den, because there's a scroll that I saw and words written on it in another language, which I will interpret for you, and it's going to be fantastic. Now, the attacks over the summer were firstly against Jews, and then the Christians. Isn't it amazing that we prophesied that during the summer would be America's greatest challenge? I was in Israel. I was there when the rockets were going over. I was there praying. I wasn't afraid. I'm never going to be afraid, because I refuse fear in my life. But I want to say something. When the Jews were attacked, there was a unity that developed. And this is the key. We have to display unity as never before. Let me say this to you. God showed me the importance of this new season. We're in a new season. And many of you heard the prophecy that God gave to us by the Spirit last Saturday regarding the 7 years of famine that have come to an end. Well, we calculated it when the first announcement were made that there's an economic crisis in America. I refused to accept it for my own business. I refused to accept it for my own family. And of course, we survived. And there were tough times, but we made it. But he spoke about the end of the 7-year famine, ending in the fall. Everybody, welcome to the fall. Welcome fall. We welcome you autumn. We're so happy that you are here. We loved you summer, but we're glad you're gone. Autumn, we welcome you, because God spoke about certain revelations that were coming to us in the fall, and it began the very first day, which Sunil will show you on Codebreakers, and it happened right now as we enter into Rosh Hashanah, into the new year, which is another interesting thing we'll speak about. But listen, the attacks were against the Jews first and then the Christians. President Obama is now challenged like he's never been challenged before. I don't care what composure he puts, how many smiles he gives, there is the greatest challenges upon him. God showed me the importance of this new season and the end of the 7 years of famine. It's also important to note that the beginning of Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the Jewish New Year, 5,775. Now, last year was 5,774, and that's their years. That's from the beginning of creation. Last year, their year started as a year of division. I'm talking about Israel and the Jews. Last year, 5,774, started as a year of division and disunity in Israel and among Jews in general. And what we observed and we saw was really a mushrooming global anti-Semitism. Everybody knows this started happening. We saw it years ago when I sent my team there, spoke about a Fourth Reich. Is this bad news? Of course it's bad news, but I'm saying, look at what's happened before your very eyes. Global anti-Semitism mushroomed. We saw this happening in that 1 year. and the rise of true evil with a whole bunch of faces, various faces. However, in 1 year, the Jews, Israel's year ended with massive displays of what? Jewish unity. The year ended with victory in war. Even if the enemy, never comprehended that they lost. The Israeli year ended with some decisive wins over global anti-Semitism and some astonishing successes against the evils that attacked them. We've seen it. I even prophesied that some of them who were enemies would be friends for a season. It's happening before our very eyes. We are entering into a new season, everybody. I'm so thrilled about it, and I'm so thrilled that we are at the brink of this that He told us. And many of you watching me now are feeling very strong about this. You're feeling the Spirit upon you. Why? Because we are sealed for this day. We have been sealed for this generation. We have been sealed for this time to perform what Daniel prophesied about. As I said in 2012 from David's citadel in Jerusalem, Israel is forever. Israel Chai. We should take an example of what happened in Israel. And it happened because of a full-scale war and an attempt, listen to me, once again, to remove the Jewish people from their land, from the Holy Land. They have tried it, and they are not going to get it. Now, we all know that, but you have to look at Israel and see what is taking place. Due to this full-scale war, they developed a unity. During intense battle and war, there was a unity amongst the people of Israel, and the unity has shown the world and the enemies, both internal and external, that Israel and the Jews can overcome anything if they stick together. We must pray that they maintain this exceptional unity. I'm going to say that again to every viewer, because you know I love Israel, and I've gone there and I've sown, and you're going to do it today again. We must pray that Israel, that they maintain this exceptional unity, and pray that that comes upon the people of God, upon the Christians. Now, I'm going to close with something very powerful that the Lord spoke to me about. God gave them the land. Starting with who? Starting with a promise. He didn't put them in the land. He didn't take Abraham and say, okay, there's the land, I'm just putting you there. He gave him what? A promise. Everybody say a promise. As long as you have a promise, my friends, warriors, Christians, Jews, people of God, as long as you have a promise, you can get the land of promise. Now, please hear what I'm saying. The Lord said to Abram, get out of your country. There it is in front of you. Genesis 12, verse 1. And from your family, from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. Showing means a promise. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Do you want your family blessed today? That promise has not changed. Do you want your family to be blessed today? Well, you're gonna make sure that you bring that blessing on by blessing Israel. But before I say that, look at verse 4. People leave verse 4 out. So Abraham departed as the Lord had spoken to him. What is the key here? It is obedience. Now, I'm going to make one more statement and then release the word to you. God promised to lead Abraham to a what? A land of promise. Not a land, but a place of promise. So he didn't say to him, I'm going to lead you to a land, even though he did say that. He was leading him to a place of promise. So many of you are praying, Lord, I need land. Lord, I need this. Lord, what is your land of promise? What is your place of promise? Because that's where God is going to direct you. Now think about it for a minute. We have many desires. We have many thoughts about what we'd like to do. But what is our land of promise? And the Lord spoke to me this morning and said, I must tell this to you, and we're going to gather around now, and we're going to do it. And I want every one of you that can hear my voice, I want you to please, it's a promise that God is giving us today. He said this to me. He said, there are many that have struggled and have had land battles, property battles, house battles, And I want to share with you, every one of you, Jane and I have been through hell trying to overcome property and land battles. This has come to an end. Now, what has happened is God has given me a promise. When I've looked at my house, I've said, is this a land of promise? When I look at my ministry, or if I look at the den, I say, is this a land of promise? Well, then it's going to flourish. I want you to realize we're not talking about a piece of property only. We're talking about a place of promise. And that is what he wants to take you to now. So he said to me, I want to grant land and property freedom for my people. And not only physical land, but also land of their promise. Whatever it is God has promised you, he is directing you to, but you have to sow into it. And this is what he said to me, and I love the way he said it. And I'll give you the chance now to do it. He said, sow into my land. His land is, what is his land? His land, his holy land is Israel. He said, sow into my land, and I will sow into yours. Now I'm going to speak to you. It'll take 1 minute. We've got Joel up there, who is always so sweet in the background. Because you know what? It brings the presence of God to you. I want everyone that is listening to me, listen to me. God has given us a promise of a seal of protection, a seal to guide us so that nothing will be taken from us anymore. That was the promise. But he said to me, you sow into my land, Israel, and I, the Lord, will sow into your land. Now I want you to pray with me. And I want each one of you that are watching now, I want everyone to take this chance. Some of you have never given. You can give $5, you can give 10, you can give 18. That's how the Jews give in increments of 18. We are going to bless God's land today so that he will bless our land of promise. Let's pray. Father, as the people are gathered around, we have decided at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, at the beginning of the Jewish New Year, the Feast of Trumpets, I pray, Lord God, that as we enter into this new year, we sow into their new year. We sow into the land of Israel and into their new year, asking you, Lord, to sow into our land of promise, and Lord, to bless us and to give us, bring an end to the land battle and the property battles that have taken place. Now, if you truly believe that and you have faith, everybody, I want you to do it right now and pray this prayer. Say this with me. Father, show me what you want me to sow into your land, and I will do it, and I will be obedient as Abram was, and become a blessing. Lord, I pray that you'd speak to everyone now and release that word into their hearts. And as they are obedient, as Abraham was obedient, I pray for the blessing upon them, curses to be lifted, and that you'd make them great. And I speak to each one. Now, many of you are hearing, you're feeling something. It's so simple. If you want to specifically sow to Israel, you'll see a link below the screen, and you can go and do it. But you can also go to the red link, because we are sowing every third day. I'm sowing to Israel. Every third or fourth day, I'm sending money there to help the underprivileged, to help the poor, to help them with bomb shelters and different things. So go to the red link now. It's below your screen. And if you've never done this, it'll take you 2 minutes. But if you've done it, do it quickly and pray that prayer. Lord, as I'm sowing to your land, sow into my land now. My land of promise, my place of promise. And lead me there. If you want to give by, if you want to phone it in, if you prefer to do that, then you can do that as well. You'll see below the screen there's a link there, and it tells you the phone number. At least you can go there and you can call them. And if some of you say, well, Kim, I don't use credit cards and I'd like to just send cash, or I'd like to send a check, then you can mail it in. It's all going to be used. The whole thing that I'm doing right now is getting you to give and to bless Israel. And then, of course, you can text if you wish. It's 43965, and you can write the word gift, or you can write the word Israel. Let me tell you something, Ukraine is not out of trouble. Just because you don't see them on the news, they are in a tremendous amount of trouble. And Sasha, who is the pastor that we have supported and are supporting there, is actually going to war. He's going into the war zone to fight as a soldier, but also to go and preach and minister to them there. That's sowing into good soil. We are sending money to them as well. If you want to do that, put it to Ukraine. It's also for the Jews, and it's also for the Christians. And so it's just a beautiful time as we do this together. And think about all over the world right now, as you are giving, God is hearing you, seeing your obedience, and deciding how He's going to bless and sow into your land and your place of promise.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Clement. Thanks for worshiping with us today. We want to hear from you. If you have a prayer request or a testimony, you can email us at hope@houseofdestiny.org. We would also like to remind you of all of our viewing options. We have a live broadcast every Saturday and Wednesday. Monday is Prophetic Rewind for all things Kim Clement. Friday, tune into our Israel update for the latest news from Israel. We also have Destiny Worship and Destiny Kids. Thank you for being a part of the House of Destiny family. We love you guys and thank you for tuning in.